The Nazca Mummies. You may or may not have heard of these little critters right here. Some people say they're alien. Others say it's a hoax. But one thing's for certain, they haven't left the public conversation. And in this video, I'm going to give you an update. Let's dive in. Now, this time last year, these Nazca Mummies, which have been around a while, were shown to members of Congress in Mexico and to the public. And it was an absolute worldwide sensation when it hit.
Mexico's politicians have been asked to consider that aliens may actually exist.
Oh my God.
They've been shown two desiccated bodies, which researchers claim are non-human.
Ridiculous.
Now, these were found in Peru in 2017. The aliens have shriveled heads and 3 fingers on each hand. While the claims have been greeted with skepticism, one believer insists they're not part of our terrestrial evolution.
Es la reina de todas las pruebas.
X-rays of the aliens were also shown, and experts say one of the bodies had eggs inside it. Other science observers say many of the details given about the figures made no sense, and it would take more than X-rays to determine if something was non-human.
There, the self-proclaimed UFO researcher took the floor, and alongside him were 2 mummified specimens. Specimens that Mossad boldly declared were corpses of aliens. You heard that right, corpses of aliens.
The National Autonomous University of Mexico says these mummies are roughly 700 and 1,800 years old.
Right. So is this real? Do people believe this? I don't know.
As Leslie Lopez says, we want DNA samples.
Yeah.
And since then, they haven't left the conversation because they have been studied multiple times by multiple different doctors, making their way across different laboratories and scientists and universities. And there has been a lot out there about these mummies. And it's kind of hard to keep up with all of it. So in this video specifically, I'm going to focus on one in particular named Albert, but also something that I found quite fascinating. One of these mummies may be emitting some sort of signal, and it's a little crazy. Now, let's get to the first clip about Albert, right? One of these mummies uncovered down in Peru.
And the most baffling of all, that Mario has entrusted in me, the famous Albert. When they saw the strange mummy, the surgeons could not believe their eyes. They had before them a lifeless body of a being that may not even come from Earth. Once more, I played devil's advocate. Could it be a fake? First, they looked carefully at the X-rays.
Lo que sí nos parece es que encontramos zonas de crecimiento en el hueso, cartílago de crecimiento, ¿no? Zonas interficiales, ¿no? Donde en el ser humano son las zonas donde el hueso se va a estirar o crecer. Sí hay un crecimiento porque en el hueso normal que respecta a su estructura hay metáfise, como dice el doctor, y la metáfise en el ser humano es el lugar de crecimiento. Entonces esto de hecho era alguien que estaba en crecimiento.
More surprisingly still, in several places in Albert's skull, our specialists notice decalcification of the bone, leaving only the spongy part visible. According to Dr. Ramirez, Albert suffered from a bone malady similar to osteoporosis. The X-rays show it without a shadow of a doubt. All the bones of the body have been affected. The doctors at the time had tried to remedy it and had made a delicate intervention on the right hip of the individual. As a consequence, the right side of the hip and the right leg showed clear signs of malformation. Albert was lame, and the surgeons in the Nazca era tried to correct the problem by inserting a small metal plate on the hip. It would have been put there to reattach, as it were, 2 overlapping bones, like a staple, as clearly seen on the X-rays. In this particular case, the metal object was therefore clearly for medical purposes.
Honestly, the way the doctors sort of like handle these mummies is interesting. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. But, you know, I handled food better as a chef than this, to be honest. So I don't know. You know, again, is it a red flag? You know, maybe. You know, kind of seems like it to me. I'm just saying from my gut, right? You know, whatever. It just seems unusual to not have a little more protection when studying and looking at these beings, you know? So, whatever, teach their own. But again, I'm not a doctor. Even the University of Tennessee is going to be investing money into studying this, right? And there could be an announcement coming from Peru very soon, officially, that these mummies are more than just a hoax. Now, let's get to this particular detail about these mummies that I found out recently that I found absolutely fascinating. And it has to do with something in one of these mummies emitting a signal, right? Having something inside of it, this implant inside of it that is emitting a signal to where, for what, you know, what is it doing exactly? Is it receiving signals as well and not just emitting them? I found this fascinating. So here's a clip to sort of catch you up. Shout out to Pavo Ibara for turning me on to this.
Additionally, CT scans since 2017 revealed that these implants seem to emit some type of energy. The image analysis allowed us to discover that these metallic pieces are containers that have a symmetrical internal structure.
And look, there's so much more going on with these mummies and so much more to take in. And so to help with this, I'm going to be bringing on Pavo Ibara this coming week. He runs a show called Psychoactivo, and he's been following and studying the data on all what's happening with the mummies. So we're going to bring him on, talk about, you know, the mummies and do a deep dive and catch everyone up on where exactly we're at with it. And with that said, one of the directors of an upcoming documentary about these Nazca mummies went on Howie Mandel's podcast, right, and spoke a little bit about why these mummies are looked at like being a hoax, right? Because I think that's the biggest question people have. So here's a clip.
Have confirmed supposed alien mummies are in fact dolls made from bones. The dolls were originally seized in the capital Lima in October last year. Scientists say there is no truth to the theory aliens helped build ancient Incan landmarks like Machu Picchu, calling the ideas fairy tales.
Okay, so that's Sky News. But let me just say, so I'm just being the devil's advocate here. Would it not behoove an international news company to do research or to, like, there's a million of these saying that it's debunked?
Yeah, because it was an AP Newswire story and they needed filler for that day. But they were also all too happy to listen because it was coming out of Peru where the bodies originated from, right? So they even set this up to where they were trying to mail them to a Mexican address so that they knew they would be confiscated, these fake ones. And you know, as far as hoaxes or clapbacks go, it was exquisitely orchestrated. But the theory is that because Mexico was getting the shine and debuting these bodies to the world, there were people within, you know, high-level positions in the government who wanted to see that washed away.
But in reading about these, you know, they've done, you know, X-rays and whatever scientific experiments they've done on them, and supposedly in some of my reading there is a percentage of a makeup of that is beyond our right. It's not just human DNA, and it's not just
there's unknown, which is a huge mystery.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that unknown, how come that isn't like headline?
Well, why is that not known?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
You know, I think it's inarguable. Like anybody who's on the conspiracy side of the aisle will tell you that the mass media does not adopt the narrative that aliens are real. Even when they're having press conferences in Washington, D.C., you know, it's like it becomes a blurb and then they kind of get rid of it and wash it away, you know.
So look, this is a complicated issue. Let's be real, right? It's can be very divisive, and I get it, right? But at the same time, we do need to remain open-minded, but it's okay to also ask questions. And I, for one, am going to wait for more results. And I am absolutely looking forward to the deep dive with Pavo coming up this week. So I will get more information, and you can too. But please tell me in the comments, what do you think about these mummies so far, and what does just your gut say, right? And what do you think about the evidence so far that's been released? Again, there's been a lot out there. It's just kind of hard to find and kind of hard to piece together because there's just always new things coming out, and there's hundreds of bodies, and, makes it very complicated, to be honest with you. So, anyway, let me know what you think. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace!
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.